what it is, and hopefully you've seen a bit of our park, and we've been able to explain to you some of the issues we've got with the potential road improvements.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much for showing me your beautiful space. And I think that the Rimrose, even in the distance of the wildlife that was scurrying away from us as we walked as a large group down the path. And it clearly is essential when you look at all the crowded housing around here. The people, I was talking to a school teacher saying, how much the children need that space. And we're learning more and more about how green space, contact with nature is actually essential for health and well-being. And one of the figures that I often quote to really as a sign of how much we've just got things so wrong in our society is the fact that the rate of depression among the under 16s has doubled in the past decade. Rate of depression doubled in a decade. And we actually know that exposure to green space, exposure to nature, can help make people feel better, to make them actually healthier. And of course that's without even getting into the whole issue of exercise, obesity, diabetes, etc. So, I think these are really exciting times because there's a real mind shift happening. We're starting to see real change coming along. And I think, if you think about political change, real change happens in big jumps. And we've had 35 or 40 years of what you could call neo-Thatcherism, neoliberalism, a whole kind of political philosophy that said greed is good, inequality doesn't matter, and we can keep trashing the planet. And it's clearly failed. And if you actually think back through history, there was actually 35 or 40 years after the Second World War, it was the sort of the social democratic period. And I think the time now is for real change. And what we need, I believe, is green political philosophy. And that, I don't care if you call it that, I don't care what you call it, but it has to mean that, first of all, collectively we have to live within the environmental limits of our one planet. And ultimately that's not politics, it's physics. That's what we have to do. And when we look at something like the Rimrose Valley and see how essential it is to the communities around it, you can see how we are hitting up against the limits. We just cannot afford to destroy that for our own future. But of course what we've got to do also is make sure that everybody in society has access to a decent life, roof over their head, food on the table, and having those things without fear and worry. And I've been hearing today in Sefton about, I've heard about your rather partial demolition efforts with some, what could have been people's homes. It was decided to demolish them. Yet at the same time, in other parts of Sefton, there's talk of, greenfield developments, again destroying more of a relatively natural environment to build what will undoubtedly be expensive homes that you'd need 2 incomes to have any hope of paying the mortgage. Then very likely there's no public transport, so you need 2 cars to service those 2 incomes. Then of course you have congestion, more air pollution, more people having long commuting times and rather miserable lives. So we've really got to break the cycle and build something different. And that's what the Green Party is trying to do. And of course these are really exciting times for the Green Party. Last year we had the Green Surge, 1.1 million votes. We actually had a fair proportional election system. Caroline Lucas would have 24 fellow Green MPs in Westminster. We're still fighting, very much working for that. There's going to be a big march the Saturday after the election calling for electoral reform. But in the meantime, we don't have to wait. What we can do is take the Green Surge that saw our membership more than treble and turn it into seats in places like Sefton. And I've been getting very good reaction going around the country and talking about, wouldn't you really like a new green broom sweeping through some very dusty council corridors? And I think that's a case of whether you have one-party states where one party's been enormously dominant, or even where you've got the 2 traditional parties wrestling with each other and really focused on that wrestling match rather than on achieving the best for their communities. That new green broom, electing first Green councillor, can make an enormous difference. Now, one of the examples I cite for this is Islington in North London. There we have Caroline Russell, Green councillor, and she is the opposition. There's 47 Labour councillors and Caroline. And I think Labour's running a bit scared, actually, to be honest. And one of the things she did about the 3rd council meeting, full council meeting after she was elected, there was 12 different community groups that she mustered through to ask the council questions, to challenge what the council was doing in their particular area. And because Caroline was there as their voice, she was able to help them through the process, support them, make sure they met deadlines. So that's really hugely important, even that one Green councillor. And yet Caroline was elected by 7 votes. They had multiple recounts, so I'm quite sure it was 7 votes. And because it was a very hard-fought ward, the Lib Dems had been the sitting councillors, Labor came second. Lib Dems were only 20 votes behind Labor. So Caroline was 27 votes off coming third. So there's really a message there in terms of the next few days. There's a real chance here to elect your first Green councillor in Sefton. I think he'd do a great job, it'd be a great achievement, and every door you're able to knock on in the next few days, every leaflet you're able to deliver, even everyone you're able to talk to in your workplace, neighbours over the fence, perhaps your fellow parents at the school gate, all of those conversations might help deliver, who knows, one of those 7 votes that gets you in. So good luck, thanks for everyone for all the work you're doing, whether it's Green Party or whether it's campaigning for Rimrose Valley. I have a saying which says that politics should be something that you do, not have done to you. And you're all in different ways. You know, politics is much more than party politics. You're all doing politics, making your community better. So thank you for that, and good luck with all of your endeavours. Cheers.